3 months ago, Rainbow Six Siege was on top of the world. The 2020 Invitational was gigantic, more people were playing the game than ever. Hell, we made a whole Don't At Me about how great Siege was. But now, pro players are leaving, content creators don't want to play the game, and there's negative post after negative post all over Reddit. So, what the hell happened?
Why are you surrounded by instant noodles?
Man, it is literally all I've been eating since shelter in place started. There is no way I'm going outside right now.
Look man, even with everything going on, Grubhub is still delivering your favorite food right to your front door.
Right, but is it actually safe?
Yeah man, it's really safe. And with contact-free delivery, it's never been easier to get the food you actually want, while limiting the spread of COVID and supporting local restaurants. The food gets dropped off right at your door, safely, and you don't need to break any of your social distancing guidelines.
Thank God, I don't know if I could do another bowl of instant noodles.
Man, how much instant ramen have you eaten?
It is the only thing I have eaten in a month. Alright, so right now Siege is in a bad spot, and how we got here is really complicated. So to help everything make sense, I've broken down this issue into 3 specific categories: cheating, the new LAN League, and the meta. Obviously there's a lot to discuss within each, but these 3 problems seem to be what most people are upset about. So, let's start with arguably Siege's biggest problem: cheating. If you've paid attention to Siege at all in the last 5 years, you know the game has a giant cheating problem. We've covered this topic a lot on Don't At Me before. But the problem seems to be worse than ever right now.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they just DDoSed the server.
You have your typical stuff, the wall hacks, the aimbotters, the stream sniping, all happening on official Ubisoft servers. Now, other FPSs have a cheating problem. I mean, just look at CSGO. But the big difference that separates CSGO from Siege are external servers. With CSGO, you have third-party options to play on, like Faceit or ESEA, which both offer robust anti-cheating systems, something Siege lacks. Faceit, for example, has an intrusive anti-cheat program. On top of that, you have to pay to play on the premium servers while also stating who you are, which deters a lot of cheaters. All of this leads to servers that are generally better, and Siege has none of that. The only way to play ranked Siege is on Ubisoft's official servers, which has a weaker anti-cheat system and results in frozen lobbies, frequent disconnects, and DDoS attacks. The whole thing. While cheating happens at almost every ranked level, it seems to get worse the higher you go. To the point where pro players and talented content creators competing in Diamond and Champion ranks are having trouble playing the game. And it's this rampant cheating that's caused up-and-coming pro player Mo Digga to leave the game entirely.
When I first started Siege, I could actually play like 10 to 12 hours a day. I could stream all day, I could play, and now I can't because half the games are cheaters.
Alongside cheats dependent on third-party software is something like stream sniping, which heavily affects streamers and content creators and has casters like Intero asking for some sort of streaming mode to help fix the problem. The Siege community has even made mock-ups of what this streamer mode would look like, but Ubisoft has been pretty quiet as to whether or not they're going to include something like that. You know you have a cheating problem when somebody like Macy J, who's the biggest R6 Siege fan out there, contemplating not playing the game anymore because cheating is such a big issue. On top of all the cheating, there's the extraordinary amount of bugs that are plaguing the game. And while Ubisoft does patch them out, each patch seems to create new bugs. Now, it's not like Ubisoft isn't trying. In fact, they're trying like hell to get this cheating problem under control. They've banned thousands of accounts, but BattlEye, the third-party anti-cheat software that Ubisoft uses, doesn't seem extensive enough to really make a dent in this problem.
Why do I have to use this account? Well, it would be because Rainbow Six has a anti-cheat that does not work at all whatsoever.
While everyone is talking about how cheating is making Siege a nightmare, the next topic I want to cover is this new version of Pro League that Ubisoft is talking about. So Pro League Season 11 finished on April 13th, and it was the end of competitive Siege as we currently know it. Taking NA Pro League's spot is a LAN league that's reportedly going to be based out of Las Vegas. And a big reason we know about this LAN league is because former Luminosity Gaming Siege player Hyena recently released a twitlonger about it that set the community on fire. Now, the controversy behind the LAN League and Hyena's tweet is extremely complicated, and if you want to know the full story, we made a whole Don't At Me breaking it down. Basically, what you need to know here is that negotiations between Ubisoft and multiple R6 Siege organizations about their involvement in this new LAN League broke down. And because of that, those orgs released their rosters, and now former pros who competed in Season 11 of Pro League don't have teams. Last time I talked about this situation, I focused on the Luminosity Gaming roster, who were dropped from the org after LG backed out of this new version of Pro League. This time, I spoke with members of Evil Geniuses, another org that released its roster after similar negotiations with Ubisoft fell through. The EG players that I spoke to feel like they've had their Pro League spot unfairly stripped away. And because EG won't be competing in this new LAN League, the Pro League spot that the roster feels like they earned is now going to another team.
We've had that spot for like 4.5, 5 years. We've been in relegations before. We've made it out of relegations. We've won Pro League seasons, so we're fine with competing for it. And if it happens, it happens. If we got relegated, then we would have got relegated. But to not have a chance to compete for your spot that you have pretty much sacrificed everything for, I mean, it's pretty frustrating.
Now, according to the players, the reason why EG won't be participating is because it doesn't make sense for the org financially. One of the examples I've been given is the fact that EG is based in Washington and would have to move to Vegas and apparently find new housing for staff and players.
They came to talk to us and we're just like, hey, this is what's going on. We don't agree. Like, we don't want to make that move. It's not like smart for us. And we went a different way. They went their separate ways.
And people don't know who to blame. Fingers are being pointed at Ubisoft for lack of communication. Others think that LG and EG should have done more. It's a mess that allegedly forced Ubisoft to make a statement about the LAN League earlier than planned. This is EG we're talking about. They're as OG as it gets when it comes to competitive Siege. It's like Fnatic suddenly dropping out of CSGO after competing for the last decade. Now, we still don't know a ton about this new league, and I'm curious as to what specifically has so many orgs either pulling out of Siege esports entirely or deciding not to get involved at all. Okay, so that's everything we know about the LAN League. The last issue I want to talk about is the game itself. Right now, the meta is not in a good place, and people are pissed. The simplest way I can explain this after talking to a few players is that basically, Siege has become incredibly utility dependent, making it a chore to play and boring to watch. Attackers have to worry about Valkyrie cams, Goyo shields, and Echo drones. And then there's bandit batteries to deal with, goo mines, and up to 8 different ADSs you have to flash off, all before you can get to site. It's gotten so bad that the community now jokingly refers to Siege as a utility removal simulator. The first few minutes of every round are attackers methodically destroying equipment, while the last 30 seconds are saved for frantic gunfights or somebody desperately trying to plant the bomb.
He's not got enough HP to make a crossover from Bolo. That's a lot of damage incurred there from just some Legion traps, and he's going to continue to not check and incur even more damage from 4 total Legion traps now. 5 Legion traps puts Bolo at 50 HP, and the gas canisters are going to chip away.
The other thing wildly affecting the meta are the nerfs, buffs, and changes to operators' kits. A recent example is the Year 5 1.2 patch, which swapped out Buck's grenades for claymores, and, controversially, upped Ying's flash candelas from 3 to 4, while also giving her smoke grenades. These changes suddenly made her incredibly powerful on offense, and her pick rate went through the roof. But again, Ubisoft listened to the backlash and actually reverted Ying's kit after a week of community complaints. It's a tough balancing dilemma, because the operators, their kits, and Siege's sheer flexibility are what make it so challenging and ambitious as an esport. None of this is to say that the Siege developers are thoughtlessly throwing content at us to see what sticks. It's actually quite the opposite. We know that the developers are just as passionate about Siege as are the people who play it. It's one of the rare games where the developers actually interact with the community and often share their thoughts and ideas about recent patches and changes to the game.
We're back with another Rainbow Six Siege developer. This time we are joined by Jean-Baptiste. He is the lead game designer for Rainbow Six Siege.
If there's a positive to be taken from this whole situation, it's the fact that the Siege community isn't shitting on the game because it's a cool thing to do. I get the overwhelming sense that people are upset because the game they love, the thing they've spent thousands of hours playing, isn't in a good place, and they desperately want it to be. And it's a little strange talking about Siege this way, when I truly think it deserves to sit alongside other Tier 1 esports like CSGO or League of Legends. I mean, as of January 1st this year, Siege had 55 million registered users, and the 2020 Invitational was ridiculously good. Now should be the best time to be a Siege fan, but it's not. My cameras have never been a problem in the past.
Dude, I know you love cameras, but nobody knows what that is. It looks like a toaster. Just like use normal things like books or comics or something.
All right.